Okay. Um, I see a butterfly. I changed positions so you can see my ugly face. Um, we, my mother-in-law, the family, and her husband, and she didn't have any kind of burial insurance. And after she died, um, I fell apart. I was exhausted, and so the family, her daughter, and everybody started calling people to get donations to so we could give her a good burial. And I backed off. I said, I'm not doing this. No, we shouldn't have to beg people to give money. And I, I said, I'm not going to do that. That's your mother, your responsibility. So they had to swallow their pride and make phone calls and everything. And so, you know, my daughter and my son was pretty much during that time. I neglected to really take care of them because I was taking care of her, and I didn't really concern myself about their schoolwork or anything like that because you know you had to stay on top of them 24/7 to get them to do stuff. So my concern was about her at the time, and so anyway, um, my daughter was not doing her work either. She and I had a huge argument one day. It was after his mother died, and she and I were having an argument about her being lazy and not doing her schoolwork and sleeping all day. And, um, I was just so ashamed that my children were so, they wouldn't listen to me. They would ignore anything I said. They treated me like, um, they disrespected me. And I was always, um, good to them. And our problems started around that time with our daughter. She and I got into this huge argument, and she called me a bitch, and I slapped her, and she started hitting me back. And my son came in and grabbed her and pinned her up against the kitchen cabinets, countertops, and he was screaming at her, and that scared me. And I told him that if he ever touched her again in that matter, that I would have him arrested. So, now he says that he tried to help me, but I threatened to have him arrested when he was, all my problems that I've had with my daughter recently in the past several years. Uh, when I try to talk to him about it, he throws that up in my face. And, you know, I I don't like violence. I don't like using that kind of force. And he was just extremely agitated and angry, and he's just that kind of person. And he's big. He's a very big person, and she's a tiny little thing. And I didn't want him to think that he could treat women that way. I wanted to teach him, just because somebody's, especially a female, if they're acting out of sorts, you don't grab them, you don't rough them up. That's not the way you treat a woman. And so when his dad came home, I told him what happened, and his dad jumped all over him for it. And so he resents that now. He thinks that, he he's not going to try to talk to her or anything because he tried to take care of a situation once before and he got shot down. That's the way he thinks. So I, you know, he's unreasonable. And when I try to tell him, that she's doing this or, that, he's like, you know, I'm not getting involved. I tried to do something before and you told me that you were going to have me arrested, so I'm not getting involved. So anyway, he ignores me when I try to talk to him, so I don't talk to him. I haven't talked to him in a few months now. So we just haven't talked to any of my kids in a few months. They're all like their dad, most of them. I mean, they're all pretty much like their dad and his attitude. So I was extremely embarrassed because my kids were not in school. I didn't want anybody to know, and I become real withdrawn and everything, and I wanted to get out of that town. As many times as I wanted to move to my hometown, that was one time I really wanted to get away from there because um, I let my pride get the best of me. Um, we had taken a vacation to the coast, and the kind of work my husband did, I knew, that he could get a job down there really easy. And I checked on some places. I started doing my own little research and checked on some places, and I knew that we could live down there just as cheap as we could where we were at. So he had he didn't like where he was working either, and which it was a great job. Didn't pay that much, but the benefits were really good. So um, I told him, I said, would you like to move? And he said, where? And I said, well, on the coast. And he's like, I didn't ever think about, moving down there, but we both loved it. Everybody wants to move down to the Gulf of Alabama. So I thought, well, things are just not going good here. The kids are, um, I don't see any of my children graduating from high school. And I said, it's really embarrassed me, and I just want to get away. So we started looking. We went down that weekend and we started looking, and well, actually, this actually happened before she got really sick because he had gotten a job down there and we were going to move. Then we found out she was very ill, and we had to postpone our plans. And then when she passed away, we he took the job, and that's when we moved. So we moved down there in July. It was the weekend, 4th of July weekend, and we did not realize how many people come down there for the 4th of July. We never had gone down there during that time. So we were stuck in traffic for a long, long time trying to get down there, and we had all of our belongings and everything. So we got moved into our apartment there, and we were very happy. We were at the beach. Um, you know, we we found a church to go to, and the kids started getting involved in the church, and um, we, we felt happy about it. Um, he really liked the company he was working for, and our son got a job at one of the parks there, and I was trying to find a job for myself, and felt like everything was going fine. So we started making friends um, and all that, and one of the one of the boys that was in this church, they had a nice little youth group. One of the young boys there was just cute as he could be, and I told my daughter, I said, I believe you're going to marry him one day. And this is before they even started liking each other. That was a big, big mistake. So anyway, they went on youth trips and football games and everything. So him and her did start liking each other. She was very pretty, blonde headed, dark skin. I mean, she looked like she belonged down there. And he was fair complected, but his hair was blonde, and they made a really cute couple. And his parents were really nice, and we were go to their house for dinner, and it surprised me how nice the people were there. Um, but later on, I learned that there's such a turnaround. People go down there and live a while and move, and it's just a different atmosphere. People don't judge you for what you have, what you don't have. They just go with the flow there. So we were fitting in. I loved the beach, and I started working at a building supply center, and I was enjoying my job. And the only thing about my job was it was mostly men that worked there, and some of them were very male chauvinist. They treated women like garbage. And then there was this one guy that was real flirty, and he flirted with women all the time, and he flirted with me, and he was just it was I wasn't crazy about him, but he was funny. And but it was a little bit entertaining than it was, if I made a mistake, I got yelled at in front of the whole store. So I don't know. It was pretty stressful for me. So I decided to quit that job and try to find something else. So um, when fall came and it was time for school to start, I told my daughter, I said, you're going to school. And I enrolled her in the school there. And she went and she liked it. The boy that she was liking, that she went to church with, he was going there too. And I felt on top of the world. My daughter was in a great school. We were living, where most everybody wants to live. And, all my thoughts about moving so much just kind of felt like, well, if we had to settle down somewhere, we would be in the rat race, and we would have never come here. So I got that out of my head about the moving. I said, well, this is a new start, new different life. And so we were extremely happy. There was plenty to do down there. We always had family coming to visit, and so we enjoyed it. Um, we moved several times while we were there. Um, my husband's boss had just built a house, and he said that he could rent that house to us cheaper than what we were paying. And it was a beautiful home. It was something, out of a magazine, and it had big rooms and big kitchen and nice yard with the sago palms in the yard. And I thought, oh man, I want this house so bad. And so we went and looked at it and fell in love with it, and he let us move in it without even paying a deposit. So we lived there, and I started painting furniture. I would find old furniture that was, broken or, whatever, and I would redo it and paint it, and uh, I would sell it in the little secondhand stores, and I made a little extra money doing that, and my husband was making really good money, and it gave me the money to go and find, the stuff and everything. So um, he was started being pressured into drinking, and they would meet every afternoon after work. They would meet at the shop, and they would have, all the men would stand around and drink beer and hard liquor and everything, and they were pressuring him, well, why don't you, ever drink anything? And uh, he got aggravated because they were doing that. So he decided he didn't want to work there anymore. And there was a couple of men there that were related that decided to go in business for themselves. And so they, opened up their own company, and he started working for them. So that left friction between his boss, his ex-boss, and we were living in his house. So we thought, well, this isn't going to work out. So we decided to move, and we moved into a really small trailer because, it was cheaper and the utilities were cheaper, and we thought we would stay there for a little while until we found something better. I, sold all my furniture that I had painted. I had furnished that whole big house, and now we were in something really, really small. So we we did that, and at that time, um, my mother, I remember sitting there, and it was something that come out. It was a new thing that came out that you could get on the internet through your TV. Um, I can't remember what it was called, but we got it, and we were sending messages back and forth to family and everything. I remember doing that, and I was having problems again with my pain and hurting. I believe it was mainly because I was really stressed out about my kids, not doing doing right, Um, so I kept going to the doctors. I would have, the pain would be so bad, and I kept going to the doctors, and they would try this and try that, and the doctor finally said, you have fibromyalgia, and that's when it first become known, about it and everything. And it made sense because everything that, all the symptoms, I had all the symptoms, the pressure points, where I would hurt. He could, squeeze certain areas, and even now when I squeeze my leg, it's like right under the skin. It's real painful. Um, but I needed to work, and so I tried to find things that I could do that would not be hard on me. Um, we lived in that trailer for probably a couple of months, and my husband found a condo on the beach. He had done some work for this man that had a condo, and it was in a good location, and the rent was very cheap. By that time, our son had moved out and was living with some friends, and he he was dating this girl and everything. So he was having a good time with his friends and hanging out and all. And so we moved into this condo, and it was like, I want to say 2 flights up. It was on pillars, and then you went up those stairs, and then you went up another level, and we were on the second floor, but it was 3 sections of stairs that we had to go up. So that was pretty difficult for me because it just killed me to climb stairs at that time. So I loved it. I could sit out on the deck and watch the traffic and look at the beach, and um, it was just so wonderful living on the beach. And it was a 2-bedroom condo. It was small, but it was completely furnished, and our rent was $650 a month, and you could not go wrong, at all with that. Um, we stayed there through the summer, and we had a really bad storm come, and you could feel the building shaking and everything. So we kind of started thinking about, well, what if we have a hurricane? We'd already had one hurricane when we lived in the first apartment we moved in down there. It was Hurricane Ivan. No, Hurricane George. And we stayed there during Hurricane George. And it was 4 miles from the beach. And it got pretty intense. During the storm, and scary, but we didn't lose power. We had our TV and everything because everything's underground. So it was an interesting thing to go through because it was a category. um I'm thinking it was a category 4, and then when it hit land it dropped down to a 3, but it was bad enough that it really scared us. So anyway, we were living in the condo on the beach, and we started thinking about, the storms and everything. And we were there through the summer, and my son got into some trouble, and he he was working at this amusement park, and he they would go out to eat at Waffle House or something like that when they got through, and they would sometimes wouldn't shut down, especially on the weekends, until 1 o'clock in the morning. So he had pretty late nights and everything. Um, he They went out to eat one night, and one of their friends said that he saw a jet ski at a condo that had been sitting there for quite a while. He'd been watching it, and he said, "I'm going to go and steal it." And my son said that they didn't believe him, that he would do something like that. So they parked their car across the street and watched him. And the boy went and took the jet ski and took it to their trailer that they were staying at. And my son went with them to get spray paint to spray the numbers off of it. Stupid things. So they went riding on it the next day and having a good time. And the people that owned this jet ski had been driving around the area trying to see it. They knew somebody had it, and they figured that they probably were, you know, riding it. So they went all up and down, the Bay Area trying to see, or the lagoon area, trying to see if they saw anybody on it. And they did. They found where it was. And so they contacted the police. Well, the police was looking for um, the people that, had taken it. So they investigated. Well, my son and his girlfriend came to our house and was really upset, and they said that the police was looking for them. And, I didn't know what they had done, and they explained to me what they had done. And, in my mind, I thought like they did. They felt like, they didn't take the Sea-Doo. They all they did was ride on it. So I called and got a lawyer, and he met us, at the jail because we knew the police was looking for him, and he met us at the jail, and he told me that he could only take one of them, as a case. So I told his girlfriend, I said, you're going to have to get with your parents and tell them what happened, and um, they're going to have to get you a lawyer. And so she did. She left him and went and told her parents, and she hated telling them. Uh, so anyway, we're in the room where they um, interrogate you, and the police officer told my son. He said, "We've got you on camera at Walmart buying. You didn't purchase it, but you were with the group that was getting the spray paint, and we found your shorts, your swim trunks in the Sea-Doo. How they knew that, I don't know. I guess my son, um, admitted, having them. So anyway, they arrested him there and took him to jail. And I went ballistic. I was so upset, and I cried, and luckily he had gotten his income tax back and hadn't cashed his check yet. So I went to the bank and I cried in front of those people, begging them to cash his check so I could get him his bond, And so they cashed his check for me. And that evening we had to drive about 45-minute drive to where they had taken him in the county. And on our way there, we got behind the truck that he was in. We knew that he was in there because it said the county sheriff's department. And what they do, they take them all at one time. Everybody that they've arrested, they take them all in one trip in a van. So in my mind, the whole time I'm riding behind this van, I'm thinking, that he might be in there. And sure enough, he was. He said he saw us back there. So it took us till way into the night. We finally got him out. And we had to pay this lawyer a lot of money um, to represent him. And it was real aggravating because it was money that we didn't have. And we needed to spend it on other things. He told us he would pay us back, which, he never did. And but that's what happens with your kids when they get in trouble like that. It affects you, and you don't want your children to be in jail. I mean, if he had done something really, really bad, it still would have hurt me, and I mean that was bad, but it still would have, I would have been just as upset, but I probably wouldn't go to the extreme. I mean, I might not have could afford his bond, but um, going through that, um, affected me physically, health-wise. And I was hurt that he would do such a thing. And, I didn't realize how much your kids can um, cause you to have such financial difficulties in that way. But anyway, I'm fixing to shut this down and I'm going to move to another location, hopefully. I've been doing this pretty steady, um, and I'm getting kind of tired. But I think I'll do one more vlog for the day. So I'll be back in just a minute.